Good morning. I'm Reed Hester, and I'm the Pledge Campaign guru here at Heritage. We are starting our spring pledge campaign this morning, and somehow this is the fifth pledge drive that I have coordinated since I've been a member of Heritage. I guess it just seems like too much trouble to hand all of this effort off to anyone else. So much trouble that I'm recording a message at 5:30 in the morning in a hotel room in Thousand Oaks, California, rather than asking someone else to do it. Man, I'm lazy. I'm also a severe procrastinator, but that's a different story. No, the reality is that paying attention to money and everything to do with money, business news, investing advice, retirement tips, Jen rolls her eyes whenever I pull up the latest episode of the Susie Orman Show on the DVR. All of this rates as a pretty consistent hobby of mine since I was in my 20s. I can't really account for why that would be, other than the power of sheer curiosity. As I've grown older, I guess I've noticed that we're all connected, whether we like it or not, by this thing called our economy and the principles that drive it, or economics. I guess that running the HUUC pledge drive every year has become my own little behavioral economics sandbox. I've been able to see up close how the church's finances have ebbed and flowed right along with the national economy. Now, one of the economic concepts that I find the most fascinating is known as the tragedy of the commons. This idea goes by other names as well, like the collective action problem. There's even an ancient story that describes the effort of a group of mice to hang a bell on a cat so that they can detect its comings and goings. What a great idea, the mice thought. We would no longer be afraid of the cat if we could hear it coming. But wait a minute, which one of us is going to hang the bell on the cat? This is the tragedy of the commons in a nutshell. What's good for me as an individual might be inconvenient or even downright dangerous for the group. That's the tragedy. But what about the commons? The commons is our shared space, our culture, our programs, our plans and beliefs, our children and our staff. All of the tangible and the intangible elements of the community of which we, all of us, are stewards. Caring for the commons is an act of individual stewardship and collective trusteeship. According to environmental scientist Timothy O'Riordan, it is the very essence of being whole, and one of the few ways we have to acknowledge our debt to past generations and to embody our link to future generations. It shows we believe in ourselves as an enduring civilization, not an economy. That's kind of crazy, isn't it, to describe our community at HUUC as a civilization? Well, isn't it what we're looking for? A civilization that we want to belong to? We're a liberal faith community surrounded by a conservative political culture. This isn't entirely rational, but one of the most frustrating things about much of modern economics is that it builds its theories on the assumption that humans are rational creatures. The tragedy of the commons says that we will choose to make no pledge, or perhaps we'll make just a minimal pledge, way below our means, because that's good for each of us as individuals. And it's a tragedy because what's good for us as individuals is terrible for the community, the commons. But maybe the miracle of the commons takes place when we recognize that what's rational for each of us as individuals, but terrible for the commons, leaves us stuck in a community and a civilization that doesn't fulfill our needs or live up to our highest goals and aspirations. It is our role to care for and be stewards of the commons. Is that rational? Well, it is. Only if we want to create an enduring civilization, keeping in mind that every civilization has to start somewhere. And what is it that we have planned for our HUUC civilization in our 2015-2016 church year? Well, what could be more important than increasing the time that Reverend Leslie can spend coordinating the religious education of our children from 20 hours per week to 30. My kids are in dire need of OWL training, our whole lives. The first class for Jonathan and the third for Diana. OWL is one of the most powerful and important programs that we offer, but we will struggle to offer it, if we can offer it at all, with Leslie continuing to work only half-time. This is only one example of the sacrifices we will make in the next church year and beyond if we try to meet the needs of a burgeoning community of children, youth, and young adults with only a half-time assistant minister of religious education. And what could be more important than maintaining our newly expanded music staff? We now have both a music director and a choir director. We have a music staff. I mean, let's face it, it took 2 people to replace Matt Quick. And these 2 people are amazing, aren't they? Our choir is as large and active as it's been in the 10 years that my family, nearly 10 years that my family has been attending Heritage. And it is quite a tribute to the work of Les Tacey and Aaron McCamley that this choir didn't shrink after we lost Matt. It grew. If we really are creating a civilization here, then we're going to need all the help we can get, which means we must move closer to a fair share contribution for our mid-sized congregation to the denominational associations that support us and magnify our efforts. Last year, we moved from a 50% to a 55% share of fair share contribution to the UUA, the Mid-America region, and the UU Council of Cincinnati. For the 2015 and 2016 church year, we would like to move up to a contribution that is at 60% of a fair share level. Our goal with the Finance Committee and the Board of Trustees is to move back to 100% of a fair share contribution over the next few years in order to restore budget cuts that were made during the depths of the recent recession. For a mid-sized congregation that has grown under the guiding hands of the longest-serving full-time minister and church administrator in our church history, we must also work towards compensating our wonderful staff at the level that is recommended by the UUA. This calls for a significant raise for Reverend Bill in both salary and contributions toward professional expenses, and a significant raise for Denise Martinez, whose duties in serving the congregation have grown with both the size and the complexity of our congregation. And let's not forget about the magnitude of outreach giving as a significant factor in the vitality of our congregation, its growth, and its impact on our planet. We do not budget for outreach giving, as some congregations do. We set no goals for outreach, but if we did, I'm sure we would be breaking them. During the first 6 months of our current church year, from July through December, we averaged almost $1,100 a month in outreach giving, versus an average of less than $300 per month in offerings that were taken to support the operations of Heritage. No, we don't budget for outreach giving, but we can alter our budget to allow for more outreach giving. What if we turned all of our offerings into outreach offerings? It's entirely possible that by eliminating a budget line that calls for $3,000 in offering plate income, we could free ourselves to give 3 times that amount or more to change and improve, repair, feed, educate, and truly make a difference well beyond the expectations that anyone might rationally have for the impact of a church community like ours. Now, I would tell you to come find me after the service and ask questions, but as you hear this message, I am driving home from a red-eye flight. And if you call me with questions in the next couple of hours, I promise you that I will have my phone on mute. But do leave a message or send me an email with any questions that you have. And please consider your pledge carefully over the coming weeks before making a final decision. We need to move to an average pledge of $1,900 for the next church year in order to accomplish all of our goals. Now, averages are kind of meaningless for each individual pledge unit, but it's a useful guide nevertheless. Now, another very useful guideline is the Fair Share Giving Guide that's printed in your pledge packet. I can't emphasize enough how helpful it is to fill out this little worksheet to determine what your fair share pledge should be. The Fair Share guidelines can really take the guesswork out of pledging, as they have done for my family over the last 5 years, ever since I've been coordinating the pledge drive. And also, automatic electronic deductions each month can make a really big difference in helping the church to stabilize its income. If you're not able to move directly to a Fair Share pledge for the next church year, then please fill out the worksheet and take a significant step in that direction. And please consider making the move to automatic electronic monthly deductions. Your pledge for next year doesn't begin until July 1st, when our new church year begins. And as we all finish payments on our capital campaign pledges during this same time, perhaps we can find it in our budgets to keep some of that increased level of giving as part of our new pledge. Thanks so much to each and every one of you for your commitment to supporting Heritage Church. I look forward to being in touch with each of you over the coming weeks about your pledge. And I really want to thank Neil Watsman, who's going to speak after you hear me this morning, about his own pledge and also about the importance of planned giving within our larger picture of heritage finances. Thank you so very much.